Uh, Welcome to Brush Up Your Game. Today I have an interview, a conversation with Michael. He is a Star Trek Attack Wing player over in the UK. He is also a Patreon supporter, and he messaged me and said, "Hey David, I just want to talk, hang out. Let's do something fun." So here's our conversation and stuff that we're just gonna chat about. So Michael, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Well, glad to be here and obviously happy to support the channel and be part of the community.
Oh, hey, I was blown away when I got that message because I'm like, wow. For the moment I forgot that I still had it active, but it was truly. It's always humbling for me for somebody to support me and really say, hey, thank you for the work that you do. But
Well,
yeah,
you do extremely good work, and as you know, the online community, these videos and the brush up your game, the tabletop simulator, all of that sort of thing. If this helps, you continue making the content for the game and for everything, then I'm happy to help.
well, it that's certainly the goal. That is always my goal is to keep making content, to keep promoting everything that's going on with Attack Wing. Maybe branch into some other Star Trek games and other games here and there. But the heart of everything that I do will always be Star Trek focused.
Mhm.
And who knows? Rumor mill swirling about a new Star Trek game from WizKids, and I mean, I imagine I will be at least checking it out.
Yeah, probably the same here as well. Anything Star Trek related generally gets at least a bit of interest and a bit of investigation from my on my part.
Yeah,
Always worth looking at.
Star Trek has just been such a big part of my life, and I know I've shared a bit of that on the channel. It's you know, and I don't know what it is. It's like the characters have been dynamic, interesting. There always seems to be some part of a character that relates to me at some part of my life, and I like that. It's and maybe like as a young kid, teenager, I went, "Ooh, ships fly fast. That's fun."
Yeah, I mean, there's that's basically part of I think what Star Trek. Hopefully, I'm very hopeful that somewhere, wherever, Gene Roddenberry is basically quite pleased with how everything has gone overall. That his original vision for that, utopian, much more inclusive and diverse world where everyone's treated equally and fairly, or should be, is still represented. I know, obviously, that it's had a massive impact on the world in general. Everything from NASA space shuttles named after it to William Shatner going into space himself.
Yeah.
There's been all sorts of Star Trek related influences on the real world. Even Martin Luther King talking to Nichelle Nichols saying, "Please don't leave. You're brilliant on the show. You're doing so much for everybody."
Yes.
It's all those bits that have joined in, and you say, yeah, resonate with. I'm pretty sure everybody that's watched Star Trek sees a character they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's me. That's something I can relate to." Something that Scotty does, or Geordie, or Cisco. Something somewhere, something always sort of bonds with you
Hmm.
when you're watching the show.
And I think the most important thing that Star Trek has given me and that I've taken into the classroom as a teacher is everyone has experiences that they bring in that are important and valuable. And it's not that one person knows way more than another and that they should be in charge just because of that. I mean, yes, I'm the teacher, I'm the adult, I'm the supervisor. I get that. But we all have value, we all have meaning, and we should all be treated well because of that.
Exactly, and I get the same sort of feeling uh, in my own teaching profession. Of course, I'm tilted towards the younger ones, so I look after 6-month-old up to 5.
Mm.
So the very much the kindergarten preschool era thing. So it's a lot more assistance and helping them to grow rather than
Yeah.
actually sitting them down and teaching them things. But that same idea
Mm.
of tolerance and that they have something to put forward, they have a viewpoint that needs to be both listened to and validated, carries over again. And that's something I picked up on early on watching. I remember sitting down and watching my very first Star Trek episode. I think I was 5, and it was Who Mourns for Adonis.
Ooh, okay.
My dad sat me down and watched. We had the old ones on VHS.
Mm.
So that's where I started watching that, and then things like Seat on the Edge of Forever and um, those sort of the original series and those stories where it was literally all about the people and the situations,
Yeah.
because the production budget was like $5 an episode or whatever it was, and it was all done on such a low level, but it was the stories and the characters that spoke to you, and they were what you took away from it. You didn't take the wow, that's a cool special effect, that's a cool doomsday machine. You took back the fact that Decker had gone mad from everything that had happened to him, and it needed to be addressed.
Right,
It
right.
wasn't, unlike modern shows. I don't, not dissing the modern Star Trek at all. There is brilliant things. They look amazing, and that has only increased everything. But it's still a story, character-driven experience at heart, which is what I fell in love with and still love today.
Yes, and it's um I'm not quite sure how to progress from there. There is something just innate in what Star Trek has done, the impact it's had on all sorts of people. But I think it's those experiences that bring us together, that make us want to keep kind of investigating, diving in, investing our time in these Star Trek games, because we have these shared bonds outside of the game, but into the lore behind it.
Yeah.
Because, and I think I've said it before, but if I haven't, it's still worth saying now. Uh, if Attack Wing wasn't Star Trek Attack Wing, I wouldn't play it. I don't think it's that good of a game. There are balance issues, there's problems left, right, center, and behind.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's Star Trek, I can overlook so much of it because I get a feeling of, yeah, this feels right. The Borg feel overpowered, broken, hopeless to play against.
We've all had that feeling.
Right? And should a player be able to be the Borg? No, probably not. But playing against the Borg feels like a monumental task.
Mm.
And other species, ships, feel crazy in the right kinds of ways. The Federation feel like the hero ships. Should they always feel that way? That's a debate for another day, perhaps. But I'd say Romulans finally now feel scary with their cloak.
Yeah.
At least they're starting to. Dominion have started to feel right with their ability to swarm and have synergy within the fact that they're swarming together and they can buff themselves in that swarm formation.
Yeah. There's the game has sort of, it started off, as you were saying, it started to go a little bit, I don't know if wonky's the right word. On your reviews, obviously you say around about that wave 23, the AMAR sort of area,
Yeah.
there was a weird area where everything was just not really working. But everything's now, it's starting, I won't say it's had, but it's starting to pull together. And you say, yes, the Dominion does feel like the Dominion is now your your swarm army, all those little bugs have got their special effects that say, other bugs get this and other bugs get that when you're nearby, and it encourages what the Dominion are good at, which is here, have a mountain of bug fighters and maybe a big ship, and just swarm you with lots of little ships. And the Klingons, they're starting to feel more along the lines of the Alpha Strikers. The ship turns up, decloaks, vaporizes someone with the first shot, and then wheels around. Usually at that point it gets vaporized by something else because they're not exactly the most durable ships in the world. But the feeling of each species is now starting to, go back towards more their identity, which is only for the good.
It truly is, and I think Alliance is starting to reinforce some of those ideas of, hey, you want some synergy within this ship works well, and it can work well with others of that type. And look, I'm not here to advocate for ship purity or faction purity. Play the game how you're going to play the game. That's fine. Have fun. That's what this game is. This is the greatest holodeck simulator of ship combat that could ever be made.
Mm, yeah.
And I've called it that for a long, long time. This is a big what if, and so I have had zero problems forever putting Janeway on the Tiny Prize or putting Khan in charge of the Enterprise E. I don't care. To me,
Mm.
that's just fun.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, there's no problem with playing the game however you like. I don't know if that's just a thing with me. I have tended to stick with, at the very least, faction pure.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of my builds that I do for my home game, I'll use. If I have a Federation ship, everything on board will be Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the addition of the Bajorans and the Vulcans as sub factions, that's given a lot of expansion because now you can put, your three Bajoran militia can fill up the Enterprise D's crew slots, and
Right.
then
Right.
it could actually be terrifying because the primary weapon 360 fire at range 1 to 2, the Bajoran militia, it's a primary weapon attack.
Yeah.
It can be really quite scary now that that's all melded together. But I mean, I have played cross faction. I do enjoy cross factions, and I have a little list and a little document on my computer about some of the ridiculous and weird and wacky builds that me and my brother have sat down and worked out of what, ignoring points. If you're doing a free play, have just build a ship and how good could you make it. We've made some ridiculously overpowered and very silly ships
Okay.
just because
Yeah.
we've got a fun rule that we want to go, you know what? How many other things can we put on that also use this rule to try and overload it? But
Right, and that goes into the crazy what ifs, and
yeah.
I like okay, so one of the big things that captured my attention in Star Trek that made me want to keep coming back was the Dominion War.
Hmm.
And in the Dominion War, we see the Defiant fighting alongside the Rotaran.
Yeah.
And to me, like, okay, I can understand ship purity, but I've always liked, okay, if I'm going to I could bring a Federation ship with a Klingon ship,
Hmm.
and let's keep them that way. So I'll make that argument more so. And to me, again, it's play how you're going to play, but I think there's I want to be able to see my stuff on the board, and I will probably never play a fleet of Kazon Pure. It's just it's not going to happen right now.
Mm. Which is weird you saying that because in my collection, I think I own 8 Predator class Kazon ships, the
Yeah.
big ones, and I have I really, really, really like flying them. Actually, that the Predator class is actually one of my favorite ships to fly. If I'm doing a fun game, where pick a ship and have 30 points of upgrades, I'll pick a Predator class up quite early on in my deliberations and go, this is quite good. The 180 forward firing arc, the 90 rear, the slot loadout. It's durable. It's got good attack dice. It's just not. It's quite a good chassis. It's like the Excelsior. It's a good all round chassis that
Yeah.
you can make into pretty much whatever you like.
Oh, it is, and the Relora Senkur is a great named ability. I mean, it's the Valdor, just with a better arc.
Yeah.
Uh, no, and,
With
and
the art.
and I don't hate the Predator class by any means. I find that Kazon tend to be lacking enough to like fully flesh out the fleet.
Yeah, I mean, a little thing that I like doing. Well, I've got a little tiny build for a little Payson fleet where I put color from the tournament reward, Nistrum color, where he's got an elite talent slot, and put him on board a little Nistrum Raider.
Okay.
Give him attack pattern Omega, the
Ah,
elite talent that you
yeah.
just pick a warp core breach, and then give him like give him 2 copies of Kazon boarding party. If you do 2 damage, cancel it and do 1 crit straight to the hull through their shields. And that means the very first shot, if he gets 2 damage on his very first shot, he cancels it, does 1 crit straight to the hull, which is a warp core breach. So they've got all their shields up and a warp core breach.
Okay. Yeah, that
It's
it makes
by
them make a
no
choice. Yeah.
yeah, it's by no means competitive or in any way, a the best use of it, but it's a fun thing that I've sort of like gone, oh, hang on, I like that. I'm going to use that. It is not very effective, but it's fun.
No, and that's a good it's an interesting idea, right? And those can be fun. I was as I'm doing my re-reviews, right? I'm looking at old ships, old kind of cards I say that have been forgotten to yesteryear. And Joachim or Joachim, whichever way you want to go, the proper pronunciation or the way Khan said it in Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
But whenever you inflict a crit, you draw 2 and you pick the one you want to give to your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool effect. Is it the most useful? By no means, but it's still fun, right? You're taking a little bit of that randomness out and you get to go, ha, I give you this.
Yeah, the draw 2, and then you throw him on with the Khan that comes in the Reliant pack, so your battle stations all become crits,
Right.
and then a weapon that ignores shield, something like a phase polaron beam or chronoton torpedoes,
Mm-hmm.
because that way you're doing damage direct to the hull, and Khan turns all your battle stations into crits.
Yep.
At which point you could put in 2, 3 crits on a turn. And you're drawing 2 cards and choosing your favorite each time, and that's enough to really put the hurt on.
It truly is. And again, is it everything? By no means, but could it be something, especially in say a mission? Yeah, I think it could. And that's where the fun of this is I think what happened, and look, I'm very guilty of this myself. So many of these cards we all got hyper fixated on competitive play. Is this like the top of the top for being able to play at a competitive mixed environment level? And missions exist in the game. And it's been a tough recalibration in my brain. And that's why I wanted to do the re-reviews. It's okay, I'm recalibrating my thinking to be away from only thinking about hyper competitive play. So now I can look back at these cards in a different setting.
Yeah.
I guess there's a certain amount of with age comes perspective. I'm not going to say wisdom. That's a little too preposterous or presumptuous on my part. But with age comes a different perspective.
Certainly it does. Said the game 10 years ago when it came out, and you got starter pack and wave 0, and you looked at it and you went, "Oh, cool! You got this, and this." I mean, you got Khan in wave 0, that's the thing I loved. My first entrance to the game was I got bought the starter pack, the Reliant, and the Gore Portus as a birthday present.
Ooh, that's a good birthday present.
Yeah, that was my birthday present because they went, "Oh, you like Star Trek? There's a brand new Star Trek game. It's miniatures on the tabletop," and I was like, "That I love all of that, but give it to me." And that was the very first thing that you know that was the sort of like my first entrance to it, and the fact that we got Khan to begin with, and he was amazing, and we got starter Picard, who is probably still one of the best captains in the game now, and he was the very first captain we basically ever got.
Yeah.
And you've got there's still a lot of it that's relevant. And I mean, I've obviously never done competitive play. I'm off to the tournament in the UK in June, and that'll be my very very first taste of competitive level play. Everything's been casual or submission play, but I've never done tournament or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how the mindset is different.
Mm.
So I think I have a potential tournament build here, which I have done, which I was hoping to get maybe some feedback or a bit of a critique on,
Yeah.
if you're right.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Uh, Before we jump there, I do want to share a story, and I don't know that I've ever shared this story. So the first time I opened the starter set of Attack Wing, it was actually an hour before my first tournament. It was there were four of us all going to play the tournament for the first time, and none of us had looked at any Attack Wing stuff. So I see the core set, and I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. I'll run the Enterprise D. This seems like a nice, solid ship. Nice named ability, 360 fire. That seems cool. I was coming off of, I'd played some X Wing, so I was like, okay, I know the basics around this. And I'm like, oh, Picard, that has the same named ability as Darth Vader. Well, Darth Vader's okay, but, not always the best. So I'm like, okay, I'll run Riker instead of Picard. I don't need the super high captain skill.
Okay.
Yeah, mistakes were definitely made. And don't get me wrong, look, I understand now. I understood about 10 minutes into the match how Picard would have been very helpful.
Mm.
But yeah, Riker over Picard. Yeah, just I, this is August 2013. Um, that version of David was not very smart. That version of David also did not run a Vorcha. So,
No, I must admit, when I got my first set of ships, as I said, I opened them up and went, "Oh, these are cool." And my first thing was, "Oh, it's a Vorcha," and I took the Vorcha. My very first game, a few days later, with my uncle, he took Khan on the Reliant with Joachim and that sort of thing,
okay.
and Foot on torpedoes, and he took that, and I took the Vorcha
Ooh.
with Nuda and Clag and all that sort of stuff. And I got resoundingly destroyed quite horribly badly. But I loved flying the Vorcha. But it was, the limited firing arc, and um, it just did. Oh, also, he made very, very annoying use of just every turn. He went, I target locked you. Oh, yes, but I cloaked on the same turn. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Now have you got torpedoes going in against the hull? Yeah, not fun. Not
Right,
fun at
right.
all. Because that turned my captain off. I got the crit that was it communications failure that makes your captain skill you can't use your captain's tech, so I didn't get Nudak's base conversion.
Oh, that's like injured captain.
Yeah, that one. Which was annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was resoundingly destroyed in a Vorcha by a Miranda under
Uh-huh.
the command of Khan.
Oh yeah.
Not the best moment of my spacefaring adventures, but
Nope. But I think we all have those moments, right? We all
Oh.
have that. I lost this to that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think. Uh, I'm trying to think what my worst one is. I know, I know, I've had some bad ones. I know I've lost a sovereign to the very last shot of a sovereign to a Romulan science vessel.
Oh.
That wasn't a one-on-one battle, but the last damage was done by the Romulan science vessel. That one
Oh.
hurt.
Hmm.
You know, they're just one attack die going, why not? I'll just roll the attack die at you. And I'm like, really? I mean, I could tell you my horror stories of defense dice. I will
Hmm.
always tell you the bad story of my crits. I had so I'm playing 2017 Nationals at Origins, Columbus, Ohio, and I lose. So time's been called. Round is over.
Hmm.
My last ship takes two crits to the hull. It's a 4-hull ship, right? And you're like, okay, two crits. I'm gonna live, right? Minor explosion. Roll an attack die on a hit. Take an extra hit. Roll the attack
Uh-huh.
die. It's a hit. Draw the card. So now I'm at 2 damage. Direct hit.
Yeah.
Yep. And I went back, calculated the odds of all of that happening, and it's 0.4%. Not 4%,
Yeah.
0.4%. Yeah.
Yeah. That. No, luck was not with you.
No, not at
Uh.
all. Because first I
rem-
had to fail the defense roll. He had to roll as high as he did on the defense or on his attack dice to get 2 crits, even.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound brilliant. I mean, I suppose the most embarrassing one, once I'd actually learned how to fly the ships and was getting better at it, was I had completely forgotten that I had an Orcs power token and I keyed in a red maneuver
Oh no.
because it slipped my mind that I had an Orcs power token because
Oh.
someone had used Brunt on me the previous turn
Oh.
and I'd completely forgotten. So I keyed in a red maneuver. They chose my maneuver for me. They ran me into my own set of mines, which I had deployed a few turns earlier, which destroyed my own ship.
Oh, antimatter mines?
Yes, yes,
Oh
I.
no. Oh no. Oh goodness.
Yeah, it was really, really, really not fun. It was not.
No.
It was not fun. No, I am very glad though I had chosen to bring only the one set of antimatter mines. I was debating beforehand. I was gonna put like 3 or 4 ships down, all of them just with one set of antimatter mines, and just mine lay one end of the board and then hide at the other end.
Okay.
I hadn't. I just used the one because I thought that might be a bit hard for me to avoid flying into, and then they flew me into my own ones because I made a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the irony.
That's happened. I don't have the horror story of running into an antimatter mine, but I have had the red maneuver. Yeah, that whole situation. I think it was probably even captured on camera when I was filming my own games. Uh, yeah. Um, okay, so Michael, I want to do like a few rapid fire questions to you. Uh,
Okay.
so, uh, Star Trek lore in general, or just Star Trek in general. Favorite ship?
NX-01.
Ooh, my Star Trek club uh, vice president would be very happy to hear that. He is a massive Enterprise fan. Follow up to that, what do you think about Doug Drexler's refit concept art?
Um, yes, it is amazing. I love the NX. I love the refit. I love everything that everyone's done to sort of expand it onwards.
Mm.
And even though it's not the shortest run series besides the original, it there's something about it. It just looks so gorgeous. And then adding in the secondary hull underneath, so it's that halfway house to Constitution to NX. It just it shows everything, and on the tabletop in Attack Wing, it flies really well.
It does.
Then I know it's not exactly the fastest thing in the world, but
Eh, doesn't need to be. It does what it
no.
does very well. Um. Okay. Favorite captain in Star Trek, could be Attack Wing related, but just in Star Trek.
Oh, ah. Honestly, if it's Attack Wing, then it's the original Gul Dukat.
Ooh, nice choice.
If it's actually if it's in the shows in the series, then Janeway
Okay.
for captaining hero ship.
Okay. I respect that. I grew up on Voyager. So Voyager was my first show that I got to stay up past my bedtime to watch. So Voyager has that soft spot in my childhood,
Hmm.
and I look at it through nostalgia glasses, and rewatching it, I understand there are many bad episodes, but every series has many bad episodes.
Oh yes, I mean for every Voyager episode, I will point out Shades of Grey in Next Generation, for
Oh,
example.
yeah,
Um, and every series there isn't a series that doesn't have the bad episodes. Um, I just Janeway was something something extra. It wasn't, the I'm exploring stuff and I can always be near a starbase like Picard, or the we are fixed in one space and we go from here and go out and then come back again like Cisco. It
yeah,
was we are in the middle of nowhere. We have no support from anybody else, and we have to try and do the best we can. And she invariably, okay, some questionable decisions maybe, but she did what she had to do and didn't go down Ransom's path, which I'm rather glad about.
yeah. That would have been a very different show. That might be the show that Voyager would have been had it been produced nowadays.
Yes, potentially the I'm willing to bend bend the prime directive,
Or break
broadly
it.
interpret. Hmm. Or use it as extra ammunition.
Yeah.
But
Uh, okay. Here's a tough question. If you had to eliminate a faction from Attack Wing, what goes away?
ooh, 8472.
Ooh. Why?
Because in terms of just Attack Wing, they are they are immensely powerful for what they are. Obviously they've got stats that rival, defense. They've got offensive stats that equal the Borg.
Mhm.
Their evasion is equal to some of the fastest and most maneuverable ships in the game, and they have the durability that makes the Federation look like they're made out of cardboard. But all that together, and I think something along the lines of you were saying earlier about should people maybe be allowed to play the Borg? Yeah, I would probably say species would work better as like an AI controlled mission or maybe campaign opponent rather than something you can trick out and build, because the Bioship is dangerous enough as it is. When you start adding in all the stuff on it, you put free action Picard. Now it's got battle stations, and
Mm.
then that just becomes ridiculous. But also they're so, whereas they can put anything they like on, quite a lot, nearly all of their upgrades are 8472 bioship only, which means there is a very, very limited thing of what they bring to the game that everybody else can use. Basically, it's the space frame, the captains, and the elite talents. Because I think nearly every one of the tech and weapon upgrades are either 8472 only, or get bonus for being on 8472. And without that bonus, they're no better than the cards we already have.
Right. I get that. Um, yeah. I'm just trying to. I'm just looking through all the uh, species cards.
Mm.
You're right. There's not a lot of cross faction play with them.
No. Some of the stuff you'd love to be able to put on, things like you've got the biological technology, and you've got all that sort of bit and pieces. There's so many things you'd love to go, "Oh, that would be amazing if I could put it on," and you can't. The biogenic field, the bonus defense dice, and the cancelling enemy card effects. Because the biogenic field, I've got it up here as well, says when an enemy card ability affects one of your cards. Because it doesn't specify upgrade, that's a card ability. So that's Gol
Yeah.
Madred. He is a card ability. At which point, that's protection from being Gol Madredded, from being Nanklust, from being anything. Ambassadored, even. That's an enemy card effect.
Yeah, it is.
And that's 8472 bioship only. All the stuff that's really cool, you would go, that would be so amazing in my fleet. It can't go on anything but a bioship. So they don't bring enough of an identity as a separate faction that adds enough to the game in my mind. So yeah, if one of them was going to have to be folded out, I would probably pick Species.
Okay. Same vein, if you got to add something in, is there anything that stands out that you would add in?
As a separate faction or like a ship?
Um, well, let's start with an idea of a separate faction, but then we can also go like a ship to come in.
Separate faction. I don't know if it's a separate faction, but I would basically split down the independent into their actual factions rather than having them all lumped in as one.
Okay.
So take the Kumari and everything and make that Andorian faction. Make the Vidians Vidian, Herosian Herosian, because with now, since you can make them all sub factions of independent if you want,
Yeah.
but identify them all as independent, as named ones. Because obviously, I mean, if Kazon got their own identity, why wouldn't the Herosian or the Vidians, which were just as a bigger part of their series in Voyager than the Kazon were, why would they not have their own identity? Putting them in
Right.
independent, that they just get. It's like the Bajorans and the Vulcans in the Federation. It gives one faction so many tools in its toolbox, so many toys to play with.
I'm with you. I think because I played a bit of the Decipher CCG, and independent or non-aligned as it was then was this kind of catch-all of it doesn't fit into any of these other factions.
Mm-hmm.
But they, the Decipher CCG minced things pretty finely. They did have a Vidian faction, and I believe they had a Kazon faction. What they didn't have, and what I would have liked to have seen, would be something like a Pirates, Marauders, the equivalent of a Star Wars Scum and Villainy faction.
Oh yeah, Orions, Nausicaans, all those sort of ones. The
Yeah,
Fortune.
where you don't have enough of them to make their own faction. That's what I feel independent should be.
Mm.
Where we see a Kivas Fajo, he is independent.
Oh yes.
The crew of the when Picard is captured doing the archaeology stuff, the crew of that ship that I believe Decipher called the Fortune.
Yeah.
But that whole crew, they are independent.
Hmm.
That to me is where independent truly exists.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But yeah, as it is, independent's a bit too big of a catch-all. I've also had the argument. I think the Cardassians should be their own faction and then be a sub-faction of Dominion.
Again, would definitely go along with that. If only for the game balance of the fact is that 90% of the Jem'Hadar crew either are only on Jem'Hadar ship or get massive points minuses, and they're much more expensive unless they're on a Jem'Hadar ship.
Right.
So yes, they could go on a Cardassian ship without a faction penalty, but you're paying 10 points to put, you know, Katika onto a Galor class, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
They're the same faction because he says Jem'Hadar ship.
And then I think my third thing, I want a complete redo of Mirror. Uh, like to me, Mirror Universe should be split as like, okay, the true Mirror Universe should have its own faction, and then everything that's like a alternate timeline should be a different, should be its Prime Universe faction, but then have like a an alt reality symbol.
No, yeah, I can get that. So obviously you've got things like the what Regent's flagship, the ISS Defiant, which are in the actual Mirror Universe episodes for
Yes.
DS9. Um, and I suppose you could probably count. And there's also the Defiant 1764 because that does go through to the Mirror
Yeah,
Universe in the.
I'd go with that one. Like, but to me, that would be both. So that would be both a Federation ship and a Mirror Universe ship.
Hmm.
I'd let that, or even give two versions of that.
Yeah, a Fed version and a Mirror version,
Yeah.
and then things, and then there are some ships for the Mirror which they've sort of made. I don't know where they've made them into Mirror to give Mirror some more things, like
Right.
the Prakesh, because the Prakesh isn't a Mirror Universe ship. It's the ship Dukat's on escaping from Cardassia in Way of the Warrior. It's a Prime Universe Cardassian ship
Yeah.
with Dukat on it.
Yep.
So I don't know why it got made into Mirror.
Same
I'm
with
glad it
the
did.
Tokat.
Nice ship. Yeah, the Tokat again. It's a weird one. They took a few ships and went, these can be Mirror because Mirror needs some things.
Uh huh.
But then also folding in the Kelvin timeline into the Mirror.
And yeah, same thing with like the Pasteur. That was a alternate future, but then we see medical ships in the future. Are they realistic? Yeah, sure, I'll buy that. So could it be a Fed ship, but could it be a Fed but like alternate future symbol where you have to pay some penalty to bring it in or something else? I don't know. Maybe maybe it's not quite elegant. I'm not.
Yeah. I do like Derek Barnett stuff that he does with the era logos and
Yes.
the rules he's got around that. So that is something that I've actually been starting to use the era logos and the his bits in my home games.
Yeah.
So I started to go. So this is from this era. So that's what this can have and everything. And it it works. It's quite a nice. It's an elegant solution to the massive sort of confusion of a couple of these all lumped together into one big sort of mush.
Right.
It does a good job of straightening things out.
Yes, those do help, and it makes it for people who want even more thematic games. Makes
Mm.
it very easy to have those in play, and I like what he does where you can bring the past up, but you can't necessarily bring the future back.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, weapons and tech from a past era if you want, but captains and crew, not unless there's like special rules around them, like there's a few bits and pieces. But yeah, because that means that it stops people from sending back the all good things best of the end of his career amazing Picard and sticking him on the tiny prize and making it rather more powerful than it probably should be.
Right. And again, does that okay, so that version of things starts to defeat what I was saying earlier, where this is the greatest holodeck
Yeah.
simulator and you can do anything with anything. And okay, fine, but is there maybe more game balance to it? Yeah, there is. And are you absolutely free to ignore everything there with all kinds of error symbols? Yeah, you are. But does it hurt to have them? No, it doesn't.
No, it's a nice. It's a sort of thing which it would be nice if it had optional rule in the back of the rule book. It said, if you want to play thematically, then these additional rules apply. But you don't have to use them. You can stick whatever you like. You can stick an 847 Omega pilot on the Enterprise E and have a whale of a time, or you can put Bounty Kirk onto the Pasteur or anything like that, and it doesn't matter. But if you wanted to be more thematic and have a little bit more structure, then there'd be those optional rules to add in some bits. And it does do, obviously, say restrict some bits, things you're not allowed to have, and that sort of thing. But it provides a much more, or it can provide a bit more of a flavorful, especially if you're into more the lore and the background than imagination. So if you're the sort of person that would go into the holodeck and replay an old Starfleet battle the way it was done, then
Right.
that's maybe more you. If you're the sort of person that would make your own holodeck program up and go, well, what happens if this ship was actually flown intelligently during this battle? How could I change it?
Yeah. What if Khan was actually uh, as smart as he should have been with the superior intellect, and he knew about the prefix codes that ships
Yeah.
had on each other, and he knew to change the Reliance prefix code?
Yeah. Or if he'd realised about the three-dimensional nature of space rather than thinking everything as a flat 2D plane. You make, with this you go, and so here is him playing playing the game of ship-to-ship combat as well as Kirk or anyone else does,
Yeah.
and it's a what if, but
Yeah, it is. And that's where a lot of the fun is here. And I think that all of that's why we keep coming back.
yeah.
All right. Well, Michael, I think on that, I've done my rapid fire questions to you. So you survived the lightning round.
Woo!
I know you've got the downside of being the first one getting all the lightning round questions thrown at you, but congratulations, you have survived.
Thank you. Oh, right.
All right. Well, um, I will. We're gonna wrap the video here, Michael. It was truly a pleasure having you on. Anything you'd like to add to the end of the recording here?
No, I don't think so. Thank you very much for your time and for being able to be on and just chat and be part of everything basically.
Oh, of course. And hey, best of luck at Unnationals in the UK. What day is that taking place again?
2nd of June.
Ah, the
So
2nd of June, that Friday.
no, the Thursday. Sorry, the
Or
I'm travelling up on there. It's the Saturday, the 3rd of June. Pardon
the
me.
3rd. Okay. Well, and to everyone competing, best of luck. I hope it's a great turnout and lots of good stuff comes out of there. So, all right. Well, truly enjoy these, Michael. Hope to have you back again. Maybe play a mission sometime. I know that's something you enjoy, so maybe we can go head to head at that point.
Be a pleasure.
All righty. Well, hey everyone, thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep brushing up your game. Take care.